We're going to close out our week together in our Wonderful Day in the Lord podcast by turning back to Job. We're just hitting some highlights every once in a while in the book of Job to help see you through this time of reading it. A lot of words, a lot of philosophy, a lot of talk in the book of Job, and we've come up to chapter 32, and we run into a fourth individual that is sitting there listening to these conversations. We didn't know he was even there. His name was Elihu. Job has been in conversation with three friends, and they've been battling and debating back and forth between themselves. Elihu has been listening. He's a younger man. He didn't feel he had a right to jump into this conversation because of his youth, but he's now fed up with what these guys are saying, and he's decided it's time to step up and challenge both Job and his friends. He's angry at both of them. We start with the friends in 32, verse 3. His anger burned against his three friends because they had found no answer, and yet they condemned Job. As he listened to these guys go on and on and on, they had no answers, and yet they condemned Job. They condemned him even though they didn't know what they were talking about. He was angry about that. But most of his attention has gone on Job. He's angry at Job also because Job has justified himself before God. It says in verse 2, but the anger of Elihu burned against Job. His anger burned because he justified himself before God. And so he was just, like it says, justifying himself. He thought he was right before God and that God had wronged him. That's basically the argument that goes on. Now he gives a number of specifics. I'm not sure I can get through all these in our short broadcast, but I'll go through a number of these. Here's some of the things Job was doing that very much aggravated Elihu. First of all, Job believed he was guiltless. 33:9, I am innocent. I am pure, he says, without transgression. I'm innocent. There is no guilt in me. That's rather arrogant and untrue. And Elihu called him out on that. He also demanded that God give an account for why he's doing what he's doing. Verse 13 of 33. Why do you complain against him that he does not give an account of all his doings? I mean, who are you, Job, to demand that God tell you why he does what he does? Then in chapter 34, verses 5 and 6, Job believes God has actually wronged him. That would make God a sinner if he was being consistent. For Job has said, I am righteous, but God has taken away my right. Should I lie concerning my right? My wound is incurable, though I am without transgression. The Lord has wronged me. The Lord has sinned against me, basically is what he's saying. Although he may not want to use those exact words, that's what he's saying. Therefore, it is pointless, according to Job, to even try to please God. Verse 9, for he has said, it profits a man nothing when he is pleased with God. What's the point, Job seems to be saying? Why should I live righteously? Why should I do good things? God ignores this. God is bringing sorrow and hurt and pain into my life. And what's the point of trying to do right anyway, if that's the way the Lord is going to treat me? It's not the right attitudes toward God, and Elihu is pointing that out. He also seems to claim that God does not have wisdom. 34:35, he says this, Job speaks without knowledge, and his words are without wisdom. Job ought to be tried to the limit. Verse 37 multiplies his words against God. Job thought his wisdom, his knowledge exceeded God's, and therefore he challenged God to that, and he multiplies his words against God. In chapter 35, verse 9, he says, let's read the verse. Verse 9, because of the multiple transgressions they cry out. They cry out for help because of the arm of the mighty. But no one says, where is God my maker who gives songs in the night? I think what Elihu is saying here is this, Job, you're pretty free about praising God when things are going well, when you have songs in the night. But when life turns on you and life is not what you thought it should be, you lash out at God. In chapter 36, verse 4, he does not understand that God's knowledge is perfect. One who is perfect in knowledge is with you. Elihu is not claiming to be perfect in knowledge. It is God who is perfect in knowledge, and Job dismisses that. And he's bordering on evil in 36:21 Be careful, do not turn to evil. Job is about to tip over to sin in Elihu's estimation. Job should exalt God and not question him. 36:24, he says, remember that you should exalt his work. And then finally, Job does not see that God is doing incomprehensible things. 37 and verse 13, he says, whether for correction or for this world or for loving kindness, he causes it to happen. Listen to this, O Job. Stand and consider the wonders of God. And so instead of considering the wonders of God and being in awe of God, Job has lashed out at God and borderlining, calling God a sinner, on the border of turning to evil and seeing no profit in walking with God. Job, I don't know, has tipped over into those places, but Elihu sees the danger as he talks to Job here. We do not find any rebuttal by Job or by God or anyone else concerning Elihu's speech. So read it for what it is, and then God is going to step up next time and answer.